Right. Well, he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein, which, by the way,
Jeffrey
you're the queen.
Epstein.
You're the queen of segues, because that's our next segment. By the
I
way,
am the queen. We didn't
you are
even
the
prepare
queen
this.
of segues, and that's why you do it like at the perfect time, almost every time. But I did see some things about the he settled a bunch of lawsuits. Some of them were little boys. Now listen, they're not substantiated, so that's
Right.
not. I
haven't said the boys, but Katie, yes.
even in the cult, Lana, I'm
Yeah.
not going to do
Yeah.
completely off the wall,
Yeah.
unsubstantiated
Yeah.
claims, although there's a possibility we can get there if we have to. So just
Yeah. I
keep that
mean,
in our back
that
pocket.
is kind of weird, but the Katie one for sure.
Yep, but it did make the it was talked about today in Congress. Congressman Ted Lieu actually brought it up at
Mhm.
a little press conference
Okay.
today. So I personally, at this point, the other stuff really not substantiated. The Katie Johnson thing, there's
Mhm.
absolutely no question.
Yeah.
Something is there.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you what, if this were anybody else on the left, they would have been talking about this
Yeah.
every night and bombing it on Fox,
Yeah.
Newsmax,
Reading that kid, they
podcasts.
would have downloaded that thing off a Pacer and started like reading that. Like,
Trump would
what?
be talking about it
Yep.
constantly.
Yeah.
They would be talking about it like it's nuts. Now, if you're not familiar with the story, there was a lawsuit filed against Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein that when she was working as a, sex trafficked young lady at 13 years old and even younger, at Jeffrey Epstein's so-called spa, that or his home or whatever it is that he was doing, that she testified to a grand jury that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein beat her and raped her. And she went into some pretty lurid details. There's also a 25-30 minute interview online that you could see of her reliving it as an older woman. And she's talking about it. And of course, part of the people would just say, so there's a lawsuit and what happened? Absolutely nothing. She's lying. Well, when you have two people who, if you put their money together and are as powerful as they are, something tells me you could probably scare the shit out of a 13-year-old
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's 100% true, but there is something there. There's plenty of pictures of Trump and Epstein together. There's plenty of evidence. And in fact, you know what the beauty of this is? So there was a grand jury testimony about Jeffrey Epstein and all the girls and everything that's going on. These documents had been sealed. The beauty of this story is Governor Ron DeSantis here in the state of Florida, because he bought into this whole Jeffrey Epstein bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
is he signed into law to release these transcripts or whatever from the grand jury testimony. And when they came out, guess whose name appeared all over the flight logs? They
Yep.
also appeared on Donald Trump leaving messages to the Jeffrey Epstein spa.
Yep.
Guess whose name is not on there?
Biden.
Yeah, Joe Biden's nowhere to be found on Jeffrey Epstein Island. And this story, which is really irritates me, this is the story that the right-wing MAGA nuts have been literally bringing up. There's a MAGA who brings up at least Jeffrey Epstein every single day. Tom Hanks, the Clintons, everybody on the left is with Jeffrey Epstein, and I can't wait till all this comes out to expose their pedophilia. Now Donald Trump's on it, and guess who the fuck isn't saying one word about it? MAGA.
And that's why they're probably quiet and why he's quiet, right? But social media is going to force the media to mainstream media to pick up on that. Like they will.
The international media has already.
See, good. Because it took them like a whole week. This clip with the North Carolina guy running for governor.
Mark Robinson, yeah.
that was like last week's news.
Yep.
Like that was a last week clip or something. They're just now. I just saw that on Nicole Wallace, I think yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, because y'all's been so busy on Biden's tip, right? And it's like you just let this stuff slip away. And that stuff is important because you don't think people need to know who the hell that guy is? And Trump's endorsing him? It's all relative.
Lana, this is why the media pisses me off more than anything. We've talked about this on the show before. The media is almost Donald Trump 24/7, right? Never talking about Biden's accomplishments. Biden screws up in a debate. Now they want to talk about him 24/7. It's not clearly about the news and information. You know, they always say journalists are supposed to hold your politicians accountable, which in a way is true. But you know what they're also supposed to do is they're supposed to relay the truth. Now, news media, especially cable news media, has become nothing more than opinionated news. That's all it is. It's not journalism anymore. So they didn't spend the time over the last 3.5 years to tout Biden's accomplishments.
Right.
But when they want to talk about him, they just want to talk negative shit about him 24/7 now. And that's what pisses me off more than anything about the media. And that's why I don't watch cable news. I just can't.
Biden's
and print media is doing the same thing too.
Yeah, Biden's boring to them, right?
Yep.
They would prefer not to have Biden running and have Kamala because they know it's going to be all kinds of good, juicy drama in that and stuff like that. So that's what they want. That's why they want him to step down, because it's better for the news and the ratings and the media. Like that's what that issue. It has nothing to do with like them really caring about anything. I lost my train of thought because I wanted to ask you something. It'll come back.
Well, I was going to say, while you're thinking about that, the irony is that we want a boring president, because a boring president is doing his job and he's out there working. That's what a boring president does. So that's technically what the American people should want. We don't want a president that is making news daily and most of it being bad, or just like, oh my God, what the fuck did he do again today? You know, and that's basically what we want. But while you're thinking about that too, before I play the Ted Lieu clip, I want to play, we played this clip on the show before, and this is making even more sense. We played it the first time, and I'm like, this is really, really suspicious. Why is he freezing up on this question? But Lana, if you remember, he was on with these Fox News people on a Sunday morning, and he was asked if he's president, if he's going to declassify some stuff. This is worth watching again. Watch Donald Trump's reaction when he's asked about declassifying the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Classify the 9/11 files.
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Bang.
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Whoops.
Yeah, I would.
Hold on.
I guess I would. I think that less so, because, you know, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others.
What an odd thing to say.
Indeed, Bart. Lana, like, how is that just not, like, I mean, 2 + 2 = 4, I think, on this one, in a way. Right? What do you say?
He's like, second thought.
I love how confident he was the first one. 9/11? Of course I will. The JFK? I already did it. Epstein? What?
Not probably so. I don't think so.
A lot of phony stuff on that one. So we don't want to ruin people's lives. It's like, I don't know. If you're a real journalist, you should have had some follow-up questions there.
Right. But they never do.
Now, with the Epstein information that just came out, I would suggest that they invite him back on the show and maybe ask him some follow-up questions. Of course, we know they will never do that because it just doesn't play. But let's go to the clip of Ted Lieu. Ted Lieu's decided now to bring this into the national spotlight. bringing this up at a press conference in Congress here.
So like Chairman Aguilar said, we hear a lot from our constituents on different issues, but something I've heard that doesn't seem to be being covered are the Epstein files. These files were released, and like Donald Trump sort of all over this, right? There are pictures of him with Jeffrey Epstein. He's taken multiple plane flights with Epstein with young girls on board. He is in call logs with Epstein. One of the highest trending hashtags on Twitter right now is about Trump and Epstein. I'm not going to repeat the hashtag because we're in a dignified setting. But yeah, y'all might want to look at that because that's highly disturbing. And again, it shows that Donald Trump is unfit for office. And by the way, he was convicted in a civilian court for sexual assault, convicted in a separate court of 34 felonies. Donald Trump should drop out of the race.
Lana, what do you think? Is this going to gain some traction?
Yes, this is what they had to regroup and say, how do we attack? And this is the thing I was thinking in my head with the journalists. They kept saying, you know, Biden has to be able to, you know, tell the case or, you know, fight Trump's lies. He doesn't do that alone, right? He's got his people who are supposed to go out for him on these different talk shows, coordinated with the same memo like Republicans do.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And that is part of our cult now, Lana. Right. That is exactly what they need to do.
But I think that's what this is. I think that this is going to, they thought about that. That wasn't off the top.
100%.
What we're going to do. They're back there saying, how do we wound Donald Trump right now? Rapist, pedophile, they're out there. Those Epstein files, we have to use that on top of the other stuff. Project 2025, we got to talk about that. But that rapist stuff,
the rapist stuff, the pedophile stuff, because this has been the QAnon far right wing talking point for years, and now it's out, and now. I honestly, Ilana, because normally this is not how I would want to do things, but since we are in a cult now, this is fair fucking game. This is all fair game, and there is legitimacy to it.
Yeah.
Am I saying it's 100% true? You can't say it's 100% true, but are there legs to it? Is there a connection enough for it to be able to be brought up and to be used in what I would consider a...
Listen. If you're endorsing Roy Moore, who got banned from a mall for chasing little girls and accused of sexually assaulting a few of them while he was in his 30s.
Yeah.
When your spiritual advisor admitted to having sex with a 12-year-old when he was an adult, when you're hanging with pedophiles, what the fuck does that make you? A Christian? I don't think so.
Maybe.
Well, actually, you know what?
Yeah.
Take that back. But come on, you are somebody who are okay with that because, come on, Epstein wasn't hiding what he was doing when Trump came around. We know that is what Epstein was doing, and he was trafficking little girls. So are we saying that when Trump came around, Trump's like, oh, no, I don't want to be around that, but he's on the plane with these young girls? I mean, Katie said, what clarity and with very much detail, because I don't know if you heard her interview, how she was saying, he asked her to touch him, touch his private parts, but she had to put on gloves, right? Yep. Like she had all of that thing where she had to go back to her handler to say, well, Mr. Trump wants me to wear gloves. Like she had to do all, that's not made up, you know what I mean?
It seems super detailed for
like
somebody that's going out. And again, if you're just telling a story, now again, I'll never be able to speak for somebody that's been brutally assaulted and raped. And certainly when things are a while ago, some details could get mixed up, or you're in a moment that your brain is not functioning properly. So, you might be able to get some details like that. But she did have some detail. She also had one detail in there too, where he had mentioned to her that you remind me a lot of my daughter. And there are enough clips of this man basically saying he wants to have sex with his daughter. This is not Lana and I just sitting here trying to act like fucking idiots and we want to be funny. That is true. There are many clips where he basically said, you know, what do you and your daughter have in common? Well, I'd say sex, but like, who says that about his daughter?
Yes. And it's so funny because I've been like laser focused on those tweets too. All of the crazy, nasty things he said about Ivanka, like how she's voluptuous, how he wants to marry her, how he wasn't, isn't she hot when he was talking to Howard, like all of those things are really kind of odd, right? And I feel it may not be true, but you know, Ivanka's probably a kid that's gone through some things, but will never say the things that she's gone through. Because he doesn't talk like that, just talk like that, right? That's wholly inappropriate, right? So he's probably said and done some things where she was just like creeped out her damn self, like, what the fuck is this? Like, ew. Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
It's gross. It's disgusting. And again, you know, if we're going to say anything, we got to kind of use logic here. And logic is telling me that there is, you know, there is something to be concerned about with this story. And, you know, if the Democrats decide that they want to run with it, I have no problem with it. I would love to see somebody like Jasmine Crockett start going off on this, or Jared Moskowitz, or, you know, any of these guys who know how to deliver their speeches, you know, better pretty much than anybody. Jamie Raskin.
What's the other guy? Winehouse.
He might be a little above it, although he might do it as a closer on a long argument and just close the door with it. But Jasmine and Jared, they'll spend 3 straight minutes on it being, you know, kind of a smartass. In fact, John Fetterman actually had a pretty funny one too, defending Joe Biden today, when they were asking him, you know, should he run? They were like, I don't know if he runs, maybe he should go out and sexually assault somebody and then commit all kinds of crimes, because then maybe we can get him back on track, basically. So, I mean, that was kind of funny.